I would now like to pass it over to Emily, the Canadian Apprenticeship Forum's Research and Project Manager. Emily will present how skilled trades employers stand to benefit from investing in essential skills training in the context of our recent research. Emily, it's all yours.
Thank you, Sean. I'd like to welcome everybody to today's webinar. The Canadian Apprenticeship Forum was really interested in investigating the kinds of investments skilled trades employers were making in formal essential skills training. So we submitted a project to the Office of Literacy and Essential Skills under Employment Social Development Canada, and we received funding to explore the business case for essential skills in the skilled trades sectors. We established a working group which guided this work every step of the way. The working group was made up of diverse members of the apprenticeship community, and they provided a lot of advice and expertise on the survey instrument and also gave very detailed feedback from the final report. The Canadian Apprenticeship Forum was really motivated to investigate the business case for essential skills because we know that employer spending on training and development has declined significantly over the past 2 decades. In comparison to other countries, Canadian adults participate in less training and have less hours of instruction, and Canada has an average performance on workplace training. Tradespeople in particular don't tend to receive as much training as managers or other professionals within companies, and this is a risk, especially because technology is having a huge impact on tradespeople right now, and in order to keep up, workplace training is very important. Despite the importance of workplace training, there is skepticism and uncertainty among employers about its value. And at the Canadian Apprenticeship Forum, we felt that a lack of trade-specific and sector data was really limiting the conversations we could have with employers to individual success stories. And this is something we wanted to try to work on. Could we build a business case so we could have more informed discussions with employers about the costs and benefits? We know that there's intense technological pressures, as I was saying earlier, and we know that employers consistently in interviews and focus groups across the country express anxiety about their employees' skills and want to see these skills improved. So we know from that perspective this issue is very, very important. So in undertaking this study, we really had 3 main questions that we were trying to answer. We wanted to figure out, first of all, how many Canadian employers were participating in essential skills training, because for the skilled trade sector, that was something that we really didn't understand. So in order to define the landscape, we really wanted to figure out how many were participating. We also wanted to try and figure out what are the costs and benefits for employers who are participating in formal essential skills training. We also wanted to ask employers directly a series of questions about this training and think about the implications for the apprenticeship community. So those were the 3 main questions we asked ourselves at the beginning of the study. Ultimately, our goals were to try and build the business case for training in the skilled trades environment by better understanding the costs and benefits for employers. We also wanted to help workplace learning policies and programs become more targeted based on direct employer feedback so that the policies developed can be reflective of industry realities. We also wanted to try to enhance supports as much as possible for apprentices and employers so that the skill levels among Canadian tradespeople can be improved. We know that there's a link between skills and better labor market outcomes such as full-time employment and wages. So we really want to work on providing the supports needed to apprentices and employers. Our ultimate goal was to try to use this information about the business case for training to increase employer participation in workplace learning. This will not only have benefits for the Canadian economy in terms of improved business performance, but also, as I said, would lead to many positive labor market outcomes for tradespeople. We ended up doing a national survey with employers in the construction, manufacturing, transportation, and service trades. To be eligible to participate in the survey, employers had to hire at least one tradesperson. And tradesperson in this context included apprentices, journey persons who have trade certification, and non-certified workers such as laborers or helpers. The tradespersons are sometimes referred to learners throughout the study. We also talked to employers about the costs and benefits of training through a follow-up survey. So in the initial survey we did, we talked to over 6,000 employers to understand the essential skills training landscape in the skilled trades. Who's participating, what kind of training are they offering, what do they think the benefits are. And then the follow-up study specifically talked about the costs and benefits associated with formal essential skills training. Employers in a variety of provinces and territories, trades, and size of businesses participated in the study, and we only included formal essential skills programs. So for example, if the employer offered a course through a local trainer provider or provided a structured in-house course, we included that in our definition of formal essential skills training, but informal training provided on the work site, for example, was not included in this particular study. We had 149 employers who were able to participate in the survey, and they were able to report both on costs and benefits, and we were able to come up with a return on training investment calculation for these employers. The costs and benefits were calculated on a per learner basis or per tradesperson basis. Notice a part of the study that employers struggled to assign dollar values to the benefits and tended to have extreme experiences, with some employers putting 0 or nothing as a benefit and others reporting extremely high benefits. To avoid skewed results based on the varied employer responses, a median was used instead of an average. A median is the midway point, so it means that half the employers reported figures higher than the amount and the other half reported figures lower than the amount. Since the values are medians, they do not always add up to the total values. That's just something important to keep in mind. So unlike the previous return on training investment research that we did, we're dealing with medians here, not averages. So that's really important to keep in mind when I share the findings. The initial findings will be a good basis point on which to build upon further research. And it's also important to note that in our survey, we were only focusing on employer perspectives. The benefits to society or individual tradespersons or learners were not included in the analysis, but this would be definitely something interesting to look at in future work. So in terms of participation, about 45% of employers who participated in the national survey provided formal essential skills training to their tradespeople. This was based on people who had provided training in the past 18 months. 51% had provided technical skills training to their tradespeople in the past 18 months. And 39% of employers did not provide any formal training to their tradespeople at all. So 51% were providing technical skills training, 45% were providing formal essential skills training, and 39% were not providing any training at all. As a part of the study, we also asked employers where they would like to see improvement among their tradespeople. Employers said that they would like to see their tradespeople develop new technical skills related to the trades. That was the most popular answer. Employers also said they would like to see their tradespeople improve in their capacity to learn and adapt to new work processes. Thinking independently to solve problems was also a popular response. And the ability to work with others, such as giving or following recommendations, was also noted as an important area of improvement. For employers who currently did not provide any essential skills training to their tradespeople, we asked these employers what their barriers were. Employers said that the training was not necessary to the work. That was the most popular response, with 54% of employers who didn't train saying that the training was simply not necessary to the work. Costs and resources associated with the training was an additional barrier. There was also a concern that the training will take too much time, that the employees themselves are not interested in the training, and that the access to the training or training facilities was limited. For the employers that did participate in essential skills training, we asked them about why they provided the training and what they felt some of the benefits were. And the biggest one for employers was the benefits associated with the training, which I'll be talking about in detail later, but they mostly relate to enhanced business performance. Employers also talked that they were committed to employee learning in their organization, and that's something we also see with employers who hire and train apprentices. They're very committed to employee learning as a part of their company's philosophy. So once again, we see a commitment to employee learning being very important here as well. Keeping up with industry changes, we know that technology is having an impact on many trades right now, and so employers really feel that it's necessary to have good essential skills in order to keep up with the changes in technology. Workplace changes was an additional issue, as well as demographic changes in the workforce. So those were the main reasons that employers who were providing training noted as the benefits. Now, we asked the employers who were providing essential skills training, what areas are you providing it in? And the capacity to learn new skills and adapt to new work processes was one of the main essential skills areas where employers were offering training. Working with others was another essential skill area where employers were offering training, as well as problem solving. Working with computers and digital technologies was also fairly common. Traditional essential skills, such as reading and writing, were also areas where some training was being provided, and as a group, the traditional essential skills were still important to employers, but on an individual skill basis, we see that the skills related to facilitating change at the workplace and coping with technology were more common than the traditional essential skills. In the electrician, manufacturing, and appliance repair trades, we noticed that learning new skills and working with others in digital technology were very common, emphasizing perhaps the importance of computers and other technical devices in these trades and sectors. Vehicle repair trade sector, we found that learning new skills, digital technology, and thinking were areas where training was commonly offered. So those were some sector and trade findings that the study revealed. In terms of who received the training, apprentices by far were more likely to receive training than journey persons or non-certified workers. Apprentices received a median of 16 days of formal essential skills training versus journey persons who received a median of 5 days, and non-certified workers who received a median of 2 days. And that's the median, so as I said before, that means half are providing more than 16 days and then half are providing less. This finding really wasn't surprising because we know from our past work that employers who are committed to an apprenticeship program really see apprentices as the core of their future workforce. The apprentices they train become the journey persons that become the mainstay of their company. They enhance safety and productivity on the work site and produce high quality work. And employers have told us they actually find the apprentices they train as journey persons are actually more productive than their external hires. So it's key to building their future workforce. So it makes sense that most of the training would be received by the apprentices. Apprentices are also in learning still, they're in training, whereas a journey person who is already certified is already a pretty highly skilled individual. It is a concern for us, though, that non-certified workers perhaps are getting limited training, and perhaps that's going to limit their ability to work themselves if they want to become an apprentice or work towards their certification. That would be limiting for them, that they wouldn't have as much training. So that was a concern raised by the survey findings. In terms of who was providing the essential skills training, most of it was provided in-house. Outside suppliers of equipment and products were also providing training. Colleges were an important provider, as well as Canadian-based industry associations. Private sector trainers were also used by employers. In terms of the training costs and benefits, we asked employers about very specific costs and benefits related to their formal essential skills training that they were providing to their employees, their tradespeople, and we asked employers as a part of the survey to report on a per learner basis what the costs and benefits were. So I'm going to talk about that right now. Employers invested at around $1,000 per learner based on the survey results. So let's break that down now and see what employers were spending the most money on and the kinds of amounts that they were spending. The biggest direct cost for employers, now these were direct costs, so they were directly related to the training. Registration and tuition was a major cost for employers, as well as the wages of instructors, travel, and books and supplies. We also asked employers to talk about indirect costs. Now, these were linked to essential skills training, but could be costs impacted by other factors as well. So we split them out in our survey and we recorded them separately. So in terms of the indirect costs, wages paid while on training and administration time were the main indirect costs for employers. In terms of the direct costs to employers per learner, about half of the employers said they were spending $500 or less. So about half of the employers said they spent $500 or less. 26% said they spent anywhere between $501 and $1,500. And the other 23% said they spent more than $1,500 per learner. Okay, so half are spending less than $500, 26% are spending anywhere from $501 to $1,500, and then 23% are spending more than that amount. We also asked employers about their supports and if they received any tax credits or any other kinds of supports. And employers reported that they received supports from government in terms of tax incentives. About 12% of them reported that benefit. At about $375 was the estimated benefit. Business associations also provided supports, as well as unions. So 15% of employers overall reported receiving direct financial support for their formal essential skills programs. And when you minus the this benefit, the cost per learner is $1,000 per learner for the employers. Now we can talk about benefits. Employers realized a benefit of $4,071 per learner. And let's break this down again like we did for the costs. So we broke it down by direct costs that related to the essential skills training, and then indirect benefits that were linked but not as obvious as the direct benefits. So here we see that really the main direct benefit for employers relates to an increased bill-out rate. So when the person improves their essential skills, it leads to the employer being able to increase their bill-out rate, and that's really the main benefit. The most important indirect benefit for employers was the efficiency gains. Tradespeople with essential skills training were able to do more work in less time. %84 of employers realized a per learner benefit of $1,500 or more. So as we can see, indirect benefits were increased work rate, reduced errors, reduced downtime, and reduced wastage. Those were the main indirect benefits for employers. So when you review the costs and benefits, you can see that there is a return on training investment. When direct and indirect costs and benefits and supports are considered, there is a positive return associated with essential skills training. For every dollar invested, employers received a median return of $3.08. So when the direct and indirect costs and benefits and supports are considered, the return is positive for employers. As a part of the study, we also wanted to consider induced or spin-off costs and benefits, but we wanted to report these separately because employers, they're not as directly related to essential skills. So we kept them separate from the return on training investment calculation, but we did want to acknowledge that employers, when doing the survey, did say that there were other costs and benefits to consider. The most common and significant induced cost was the higher wages or promotions that tradespeople may ask for based upon their improved essential skills. So higher wages was the main thing that employers reported there, and that was the highest cost. Foregone revenues when the person has to go do the training was also reported. Benefits, employers talked about customer retention and the fact that the essential skills training facilitated other training at the company. Employers also talked about new processes being innovated as a result of tradespeople having better or improved essential skills. Interestingly, though, employers assign the highest dollar value to this notion that they had a better or increased brand image as a market leader due to their essential skills training. Turnover is also a very important issue to explore, and so as a part of the survey we did ask employers about turnover. Employers seem to be split on the issue of turnover, with 22% saying it was not a threat and 20% saying it was a very serious issue. It was reported as both a cost and benefit by employers. Some employers represented the perspective that upskilling their employees only encourages them to leave to find better work elsewhere. When this happens, it acts as a double cost to the employer because they have the cost of the training and then the cost to train the new employee. This individual will only take their newly improved skills and work for the competition, according to some employers. However, there are other employers who believe that committing to employee skill improvement and development encourages tradespeople to stay with their company, and it is a part of their retention strategy. So once again, this study confirms our previous return on training investment research that found that on the issue of turnover, employers are very split. But it was interesting to note that more employers in this survey reported it as a benefit as opposed to a cost. We also investigated impacts by province and territory, business side, and trades. So we broke down the results, and we found that Western companies in general saw a greater need for skills and essential skills development and were more likely to offer essential skills training to their tradespeople. Ontario and Atlantic Canada tended to be in the middle, and Quebec was the lowest in terms of offering essential skills or seeing the need for essential skills development. There's many factors that could impact or explain these findings, including the strength of the economy, the financial capacity, of the provinces and territories to provide essential skills training, financial capacity of the employers, technological changes that could be occurring in certain sectors that are big in certain regions, and awareness in the industry of essential skills may all be factors that influence employers' views. Larger companies were more likely to recognize that their employees needed to improve their skills, including their essential skills, and they were more likely to participate in essential skills training. Employers of non-vehicle repair trades, to give you an example, appliance service technicians, were the most likely to perceive a need for skills and essential skills development, and they were the most likely to provide essential skills training. Applied welder employers identified a need for essential skills development in their trade, but they were less likely than the non-vehicle repair trade to provide it. The personal services sector, such as hairstylists, were the lowest in terms of identifying a need for essential skills development in their sector or trade. When we did the breakdown related to the costs and benefits information that employers provided us, we found when we looked at the provinces and territories that there was no difference in the costs and benefits that employers were reporting. They were very similar. Larger businesses larger employers were able to provide training at a lower cost than smaller businesses based on our initial results, but that's something that we would want to build on and substantiate through future work. And in the trades, we also found that there were few differences, though, as I said, the non-vehicle repair trades, appliance service technicians may be more likely to participate in essential skills training. But in terms of the costs and benefits, we really didn't notice any major differences. So in terms of the conclusions we can draw from the survey findings, participation in formal essential skills training, which, as I said before, it's not informal, it's a course that takes place, it's specially designated time devoted to essential skills. The participation in this training among skilled trades employers is 45%. With 39% of employers who have tradespeople not providing any training at all. So participation is about 45%. Western and larger companies are more likely to participate. Employers can observe the costs and benefits of essential skills training, even though there were a variety of experiences reported, and employers tended to have very positive experiences with essential skills training or very negative. There didn't tend to be a lot of people based on the survey results that we looked at who were in the middle. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. But overall, employers who participated in a formal essential skills training reported that there were more benefits than costs. So for every dollar invested, employers received a median return of 308. So median, once again, means half the employers are above that amount. They're receiving a benefit higher than 308, and then half the employers are receiving a return lower than that. So overall, we can see from the employers we talked to who were able to report on the costs and benefits, it is a sound investment for skilled trades employers. They can provide essential skills training to their tradespeople without incurring significant costs, but yet getting a great benefit from that training. And just some things to think about moving forward. Apprentices are receiving the most essential skills training, although it makes sense that most inexperienced workers need essential skills training. What could be done to better prepare apprentices for the workplace? that perhaps is something we can think about for the future. Also, based on these survey findings, it may encourage apprenticeship stakeholders to think about how can we help apprentices align their skill sets to employers' needs. Are there resources available to assist apprentices in the areas that employers wanted to see skills improvement, such as the ability to adapt to change, problem solving, and computer skills? And I would be interested to know if anyone, based on programs and projects they're working on, has any ideas about how these concepts are being integrated into curriculum that's being taught to apprentices. In terms of non-certified people who may want to become future apprentices, they receive the least amount of essential skills training, making them potentially more vulnerable than other workers. Is there anything that can be done or is being already done to help these non-certified workers receive essential skills training? Larger companies tend to see the need for skills development, and they tend to be the biggest participators in essential skills training. But with limited HR resources and time, what can we do, or what is being done to help small businesses participate in essential skills training? Also, considering that most of the training is being provided by in-house instructors or outside suppliers of equipment and products, how do we engage these providers in a dialogue about quality essential skills practices that support learner development? So that's my part of the presentation. I would love to hear from you if you have any comments or feedback. My contact information is listed on the PowerPoint slide. At this point, I'd like to pass it back over to Sean.
We were done. Thank you, Emily. We've got actually a lot of questions from the audience, and we probably won't have time to get to all of them, but I will send a couple over to you. First of all, you've talked about the return on training investment for employers. Do we know anything about the benefits of essential skills training for the workers?
Yes, we are doing a study with some researchers from the University of Toronto that specifically is looking at the benefits for tradespeople. And the initial results are showing that there's a very strong link between essential skills and higher wages in the labor market. So not only are there benefits for employers, but our research on the worker side is showing that there's huge benefits for workers as well.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so we have another question here. From your research, Emily, is the definition of essential skills training similar across the country?
Well, we shared with employers the common definition that Employment Social Development Canada uses of the 9 main essential skills. So we were really clear in sharing with employers that definition. So across the country, they would be reporting on their programs using that definition, and we made sure when we were talking to the employers that we provided specific trade-related examples of what each of the essential skills meant, so that they would know what we meant by the 9 essential skills.
Thanks, Emily.
I know the employer yeah, just to add to that, I know when they were they were doing the survey with the employers, I know they were very careful about making sure that the employers, when they said, yes, I have a formal essential skills program, that they were all talking about the same thing. And I know that they did eliminate some employer results if they felt like it wasn't actually a formal essential skills program. So I know that is something the survey administrators were very careful about doing to try to make it as consistent as possible.
Okay, that's great, Emily. Here's the next question. Did you ask employers how they determined which essential skills their employees needed training in? Did they use any assessment tools?
No, we didn't ask them that, but that's a really great question that we could include in future work, for sure.
Okay, perfect. We have another question. Does formal essential skills training include standard apprenticeship training?
No, it did not.
Okay.
So if the apprenticeship training was not included as a part of the survey, you had to be offering separate essential skills focused courses to be included in the survey.
Okay, great. Here's one that you may or may not be able to speak to. Does the ministry share the costs of essential training with the employer, which is required for training a particular tradesperson or apprentice?
We only know what the employers reported to us, so if we did ask them, are you receiving any kind of benefit or support? And about 15% of employers said they did receive some kind of benefit, and some people did say they were receiving government benefits in the form of tax credits, but I don't know beyond that what the relationship would be in terms of the ministry support for the training. I know only what employers reported.
Right. Okay, thanks. I have a comment that you may want to speak to. One thing to remember is that improving the literacy skills improves the ability for workers to improve their other essential skills, such as problem solving, continuous learning, etc.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point, and that's something we observed when we were analyzing the results. We've also done surveys related to technology with employers, and we're wondering if this is an area where some employers maybe are lacking awareness about the importance of foundational skills to the areas where they want to see improvement. So for example, if you're struggling to read a manual, how can you help solve the problem on the work site? So we feel this is an area where employers may need some awareness still. Like some employers may not be getting that. They see that they want the employee to really work on their problem solving, but they're not getting how numeracy or literacy could be attached to that.
Okay, great. I think there's one final question here. It's more of a general question, so it's probably a good one to finish up with. We often use the messaging that for every dollar invested in an apprentice, an employer receives $1.47 in return. Has this changed, or is this considered a different statistic?
This is considered a completely different statistic. That the $1.47 statistic is based on feedback and data and results from over 1,000 employers, where this one is only based on the feedback from 149 employers. So they're two completely different statistics, and the one, the dollar for the $1.47 statistic is based on an average, and the 308 figure is based on a median result.
Right. Okay.
So there's important distinctions there between the number of employers that the information's based on, and then the technical issue of average versus median.
Right, perfect. Thanks for clarifying that, Emily. Okay, so we're going to wrap things up now. Thank you, everyone, for attending today. In closing, there are two upcoming events you'll be interested in hearing about. On October 23rd, you can attend our annual general meeting, followed by a roundtable discussion on the challenges and opportunities created by technical training outside the block release model. You will need to pre-register for this event, and you can find more information on the CAF website. Next up in our webinar series on the theme of diversity in the skilled trades is recruiting and retaining Aboriginal women. This one will take place on November 12th, and again, more information is available at www.caf-FCA.org. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. The Canadian Apprenticeship Forum looks forward to continuing to provide you with apprenticeship insights and promising practices in trades training from across Canada.